So let's talk about your will. You know, everyone tells you to get one, but nobody really explains the most important part, the rule book. There's one single document that decides if your final wishes get followed or completely ignored. Today, we're going to crack open that official South African rule book so you can be sure your voice is the last one heard.
It's a scary thought, right? But you have to ask it. What actually happens if there's one tiny mistake? A signature in the wrong place, a witness who wasn't supposed to be there, and your entire will is declared invalid. The stakes are, well, incredibly high.
And here's the brutal answer. If your will is invalid, it's like you never wrote one at all. You are officially silenced. Instead, this thing called the law of intestate succession takes over. And trust me, it's just a rigid, impersonal government formula. It means your life's work, your home, your savings, it all gets divided up by a legal flowchart, not by your wishes. But look, there is a way to stop all that chaos before it even starts. It's called the Wills Act. You've got to think of it as the ultimate rulebook, and it was designed with one single goal, to protect your wishes and make sure they are carried out exactly as you planned.
Okay, before we dive into the rules, let's just get one quick term out of the way. Testator. Sounds fancy, but all it means is the person making the will. So for our chat today, that's you. Simple.
So, how do you make sure your will is basically ironclad? Well, the Wills Act lays out what I like to call the golden rules. And let's be clear, these are not suggestions. They are strict, non-negotiable formalities. Getting these right is absolutely everything.
Rule number 1 is all about capacity. First, you have to be at least 16 years old. But just as important, you have to be of sound mind when you sign it. And that just means you get what you're doing, you know what assets you have, and you understand who you're leaving them to.
Next up is what I call the signing ceremony, and you have to follow every single one of these steps. First, the will has to be a written document, no verbal promises. Second, you, the testator, have to sign at the very end. Third, you need 2 witnesses who are at least 14 to physically watch you sign. And finally, they have to sign that last page right there with you in your presence.
Okay, now this next part is where so many people trip up, so pay close attention. It seems like a tiny detail, but getting it wrong can sink the whole ship. Here's the deal. You, the person making the will, have to sign every single page. No exceptions. But your witnesses, they only need to sign the very last page. That little difference is absolutely crucial.
So, getting the signatures right is a big deal. But that's only half the story. See, the Wills Act isn't just about ticking boxes. It's also about fairness. It has these amazing built-in protections to guard you from being manipulated by people who might stand to gain from your will.
And this just makes so much sense when you see it. To avoid any kind of undue influence, some people are automatically banned from inheriting anything. This includes anyone who signs as your witness and anyone who actually writes out the will for you by hand. And to close a pretty obvious loophole, it also includes their spouses. It's the law's way of making sure everything is fair and square.
But, you know, life happens. What if, even with the best intentions, a mistake gets made? Is all hope lost? Well, let's get into a really fascinating part of the law that deals with exactly that kind of mess.
Just imagine this for a second. Your family finds your will, but oh no, a signature is missing from page 2. Is it all over? Does that one mistake make the entire document completely worthless?
Well, this is where something called the rescue provision can come into play. The High Court actually has the power to save a will with a technical mistake. But, and this is a really, really big but, it is not an easy fix. Your family has to go to court and prove beyond any doubt that you intended for that flawed document to be your final will. It's an expensive, stressful, and totally uncertain legal battle you don't want to put them through. All right, so we've talked about how to make a will, but what about getting rid of one? Life changes, people change, so how do you officially cancel an old will that just doesn't fit your life anymore?
The act is pretty straightforward here. The easiest way is just to make a new will and make sure it includes a line that says it cancels all the old ones. You can also just physically destroy it, tear it up, burn it, but the one that catches everyone by surprise has to do with divorce.
You have to understand this timeline. It is so important. The day your divorce is finalized, your old will naming your ex is still valid. The law gives you a 3-month grace period. If you happen to pass away in those 3 months, the law automatically cuts your ex-spouse out. But here's the danger zone. If you die 4 months or more after the divorce and you haven't made a new will, that old one springs back to life and your ex could legally inherit everything. Okay, so let's do a super quick recap of the non-negotiables. You gotta be 16 to make a will, Your witnesses can be 14. You sign every single page. Your 2 witnesses only sign the last one. And don't forget, those witnesses can't inherit a thing. If you remember nothing else, remember these core rules.
And why do all these little details matter so much? Because the master of the High Court, the official who has to approve every will, is notoriously strict. A tiny error, something that seems completely insignificant, can get the will rejected. And that rejection forces your family into a long, expensive court case just to try and fix it. So I guess the final question is this. When it comes to your will, are you writing a clear set of instructions that nobody can argue with? Or are you accidentally creating the script for a future family court case? The power to decide which one it is, well, that's entirely in your hands.